Review-A from Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
It's John Pollock, and I'm joined by the maroon sweater wearing Wai Ting.
You like it?
It's a nice sweater. Is it new?
Yeah, relatively new.
Relatively.
Yeah.
Okay. So
From like October.
Close enough.
Newish.
I've never seen you wear it,
Oh, okay.
so it's something new.
Well, thank you. Thanks for making mention of that. As everybody clicks off of our video right now
Oh, they do that every week.
when they
Wai.
realize this is not.
It's usually when I say the first thing that they disagree with. Like, oh, that asshole.
Yeah.
That
We
dork.
get it a lot.
Are you ready to chat about Raw?
I think so.
This has become my favorite part of the entire show. The T-Mobile Arena, a place that you and I have been in, the home of UFC 200,
Yeah.
where Brock Lesnar roared back and defeated Mark Hunt. Only to
Not really.
Well, he won his fight, and then later he lost his drug test.
Yeah.
A battle.
Yeah.
And all I can really recall of that show is that it was very chaotic, and we had these vouchers to get our food, and it was very inconvenient. And I know I'm going to sound like such a baby complaining about our food situation, but it was,
free vouchers,
yeah.
but less than ideal.
I remember I had to go wander for the washroom backstage, and I go down this hallway, and all of a sudden, there's Travis Brown wandering backstage after his loss to Cain Velasquez with Ronda Rousey by his side.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need to get to the washroom here.
Okay.
I did find the washroom. It was a very long walk from where you and I were situated. But that was the arena way. That's
Yep.
the backstory.
Thanks.
Okay?
That was nice.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be in for a short one next week. I've never been to the Staples Center. Raw in Las Vegas. We had a graphic to start the show acknowledging the passing of Chavo Guerrero Sr. Very nice of them to acknowledge this. I guess it's like when you're renting a car and you have the different levels of insurance that you can opt in for. This was like the basic package that Chavo Guerrero Sr. got. Nothing in the body of the show, no video, no highlights, just the graphic off the top.
So if you're a professional wrestler, you can buy life insurance. You can opt for the graphic off the top.
This
or
is
the
all in the-
full-blown video package.
Yeah, this is in the contracts. You can opt for all of them.
Interesting.
Clearly, clearly Luthez opted to travel without insurance because he was never acknowledged when he passed away in
guess
2002. So anyway, I was glad they at least mentioned Chavo's passing. And Michael Cole opens up the show by stating, "Place your bets because you're playing with house money tonight." Because we're in Las Vegas, where everyone gambles, and that's all the references we have for you tonight. And then Stephanie McMahon comes out. Should I say she walks out, or should I say that she danced to the ring?
Dance would, I guess, be more descriptive and accurate. Yeah.
I feel that this dance may need to retire. Stephanie does not have any groove.
Well, yeah, I know. And I think she's kind of gradually shifted her persona into sort of the mom trying to be cool, but actually kind of coming off as corny role.
Do you think she has that self-awareness?
Yeah, I do.
Or is
Absolutely.
she all her mom friends around her are like, "You are such a good dancer.
No.
You could do that on TV." I am pretty talented at dancing. Maybe I'll do it on Monday.
She's way too smart to not realize she's just kind of being corny and having fun, I'm sure.
She said that Mick Foley embarrassed himself last week during Samoa Joe's contract signing and gave Mick the week off. And she is running Raw. And what a running of the show she did. Very small presence on this show.
Yeah.
And she said she's running Raw right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, as she channeled Vince McMahon during the opening of WrestleMania 9. If you hear these back-to-back
yes.
way,
Okay.
they were uncanny together.
Okay.
She was interrupted by Roman Reigns as I freaked out. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm watching an episode of Raw from last year going into WrestleMania with Stephanie and Roman Reigns. But no, this is the feud now. Roman is out, and he cannot wait until Fastlane to face Braun Strowman. He wants to get into an accelerated lane and get a ticket en route to the fast lane.
He wants to get on the Autobahn.
Yes. And Stephanie flagged him down and teased making the match, but instead said that Strowman has a match tonight with Mark Henry, which takes precedence. Mick was the one that got benched. Stephanie booking this match. Braun, Strowman, and Mark Henry. And what a match they would have.
Yeah.
Still to come. And Reigns says that maybe he'll come and watch that match live. And everyone chuckled. Come on. You're fast forwarding through that one. Stephanie threatens to take Roman's match with Braun away if he lays a hand on Braun during this match. And before Roman can impart any threats upon Stephanie, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows come out and quote the Rolling Stoneskis by stating you can't always get what you want. And they suggest having a handicap match against Roman Reigns. Therefore, proving that Stephanie is the superior GM to Daniel Bryan because she knows how to book a handicap match that makes sense, unlike our Dolph Ziggler predicament on Sunday. And Stephanie says, in honor of our latest Hall of Fame inductee, Teddy Long, she's going to make this match, and yells, "Holla." Now, really, the handicap match was not really the Teddy Long specialty, was it, Way?
No, it was more of a tag match. Yes.
Yeah, so we kind of deviated. I thought she was going to introduce a partner for Roman, and it would be...
The Teddy Long special would be putting anybody who's appeared on stage into a tag match.
Well, we'll get into this. We come back from break, and we have a handicap match. And Gallows lifts Reigns, and Anderson hits a reverse neck breaker. Reigns comes back with strikes, and Anderson then runs at Roman. And Roman sidesteps. But Carl cannot hold up. His momentum thrusts him into the corner area of the ring where his shoulder meets the steel post.
Oh, yes.
Jarring injury for one, Carl Anderson, but thankfully he was able to continue, and the crowd did not care about this. There were repeated clotheslines by Roman in the corner, and he was going with the clotheslines, and the crowd was counting 1, 2, 3. One of the best moments of this show, Way, was Reigns stopping at 8, and the crowd just kept counting 9, 10, as Roman had stopped with these clotheslines. I love this. He calls for the Superman punch, and Gallows distracts him on the apron. There's a roll-up. He kicks out, Superman punch to Anderson, and then Gallows attacks. They're stomping him, 2-on-1, and the disqualification is called at 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And they set up for the Magic Killer. He fights them off, hits a Superman punch to Gallows off the apron, and then stops Anderson, who has a chair. And this is when I thought Stephanie was going to return and we get the true Teddy Long special, but that was it. This just ended. And that was Roman Reigns. I guess we would see him later on in the show. This was not his only presence on the show.
Yeah, I guess, in the storyline, it was just a way for Stephanie to get two guys to beat up Roman Reigns.
Maybe Roman will win the tag titles going into WrestleMania.
Sure. I don't know if that would... I think it would be an improvement for the tag titles, actually. But, Gallows and Anderson, I feel they're just kind of a leftover tag team right now without much to do. And I can't say that I've been all too impressed with their WWE run thus far heading into WrestleMania. It's
We're
almost
a
been
year in. We are a year. Yeah, close to a year since they debuted.
And what have they done, really?
They won the tag titles. Why? Their best stuff was with
what have they
AJ.
done?
That to me was the biggest breakup at the brand, which had no impact on AJ, but detrimental to these two.
They're just another couple guys.
Then we got all these headlines of the announcement that the WWE will be working with HBO Sports and Bill Simmons' production company to produce a documentary on Andre the Giant.
Cool.
So
What happened to that Gorgeous George movie they're supposed to work on?
it got shelved. They had bought the rights to it from the book that John Capuya wrote the book on, and they even put in Gorgeous George into the Hall of Fame that year because of the movie, but then they shelved the idea. Didn't go with it. They didn't want to do a wrestling movie. And now they're partnering here to do a documentary, and they're partnering with Dwayne Johnson's company to do a movie on Paige's family. So they seem to have had quite the reversal of philosophies on wrestling movies for WWE Studios.
More importantly, they have a number of big names attached to it now. Bill Simmons here and The Rock, who is actually a wrestler, but has not decided to do any wrestling film projects until now.
Yes. The one point that I don't think anyone, well, I'm sure someone's brought this up, but this Andre the Giant documentary, there is zero chance this documentary is made without Hulk Hogan. This to me signals this is the clear sign.
Yep.
Hulk Hogan is back in the fold because this documentary would not be happening if Hulk Hogan was not in it. There's no way you can tell the WWF Andre story, which will be the heavy focus of this documentary, without Hogan.
I guess unless they used archival footage, but I mean, by the time they make
This will be all
documentary-
original footage. This is not going to be
yeah,
like some
true.
WWE Network doc where they just grab old stuff.
By the time they make the Hogan or they make the Andre doc, I feel the Hogan thing they'll have cooled off on.
Oh, I expect Hogan is returning and will be back well in time for this documentary to come out, which they haven't even started shooting, I believe. New Day is out, and they mentioned Xavier had to wear a New England Patriots jersey after losing a bet to Kofi Kingston. Bo Dallas is already in the ring, and Kingston calls Bo a social outcast, and they have a folder with ice cream blueprints inside of them. Now, as much as we can mock this ice cream thing, this crowd was so into this chant.
I thought it was really amazing what they managed to do in this match, using not actual ice cream, but a folder that simply read ice cream blueprints.
Ice cream blueprints.
Yeah.
Michael Cole stated the New Day must have been having a blast in Las Vegas over the past few days, when in fact they were in Alaska Sunday night for a house show and probably arrived just frozen from Alaska and their weather to get to Vegas and get to the arena in time. So I don't think they were enjoying Vegas all that much. The crowd is chanting, "We want ice cream." Bo starts dancing on the floor and then grabs the blueprints and he tears them up as the New Day sells this as one of them has died or been struck with a terminal illness. These blueprints.
I thought it was amazing that they were able to get away with this, and the crowd hated Bo for tearing up these ice cream blueprints, which is just so ridiculous, but it totally worked.
Kofi hit a Tope Con Hero to Dallas and then a swinging neckbreaker off the top, and the Dallas hit, and then gets hit with the SOS by Kofi and pins him in 216, and they toss cereal over top Bo and into his mouth to end this segment. So the New Day are kind of just in their own world at the moment, but this crowd was really into this match, which was on paper just looked dead.
On paper?
I mean, if
the
you
paper
were,
died.
oh, yes,
match.
yeah, the paper was the most over thing in the match when you consider it.
But yeah, it was just strange how I mean the New Day I guess are in a space right now where they don't really have the titles, but I suppose they can just kind of run wild with whatever crazy ideas they have. And this their current obsession happens to be ice cream and figuring out ways to use ice cream as the kind of the MacGuffin in the match. You know what I mean? And here it totally worked with Bo Dallas. And, you know, at the end they poured cereal in his mouth.
Yes.
But if they were trying to pay homage to
Could
Bo
they get
Dallas,
a portable soft serve ice cream
Wow.
dispenser?
I don't know. That'd be tough. It would melt, wouldn't it?
That would be tough.
Yeah. Anyway, a big week for Bo and his brother appearing on TV.
Well, there was a big week for one of them. I don't know if this was such a big
come
week
on,
for
this
Bo.
is huge.
This was confirmation he's still with the company.
Bo
tonight.
Dallas hadn't appeared on TV in months, so a big week for both of them.
Yeah, we all were questioning what happened to that big push.
He still has that sign though.
He did have the sign. Didn't have an entrance. Charlie was backstage for an interview. I don't know why this happened to bother me tonight, but it was just the breaking point. Like someone flicking your ear behind, and finally you just turn around and you like throw them out of the car.
Okay, what's that?
Charlie says, "My guest at this time, Neville." And this is always the line. This is the standard line every single time that a backstage interviewer has to state. My guest at this time.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
The problem is just about every single one of them says it. And it's every time. And Charlie said this multiple times
They're all
on the
being
show.
scripted by the same people.
What a stupid line when you really think about it. What other time than the present are we in? Do I need confirmation that this is in real time, that this interview is occurring?
Okay, but
My guest at
dude,
what other time?
You of all people should realize saying at this time is basically the same as saying right now. My guest right now. Would you not say that? You would say
Let's
that.
vary it up a little. I think I've curbed my right now.
Yeah. You're
that-
allowed one. You're allowed one per sentence. That's fine.
Well, this to me was just too much This was the breaking
too
point.
much?
It was too much right now to hear my guest at this time. At this time. My guest at this time. It's a fact everyone is given this same line.
Well, I mean, they
don't even have custom generic lines per broadcaster.
They're scripting all of these people to be robots. They're scripting them to be, they're coaching them to be, swappable.
I know you didn't watch the kickoff show before Elimination Chamber.
Oh, no, I didn't.
The first 30 minutes of that thing before
I
the
watched
matches.
bits and pieces of it, actually. I
Oh
did,
my
yeah.
God. I don't know how they do this.
With Sam Roberts?
And Carmella.
Yeah, right.
It was not good. It's like they're speaking in code. I don't understand how you can even do this. So I give all the credit. There's not a chance in hell I could possibly do that.
Oh, I would love to see you appear as one of the guest
Not a
panelists
chance. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Ethically and literally. I could not do it. I could not talk like that.
Oh, yeah.
I give them all the credit for doing it. But that panel with Carmella, her gimmick was she was on her phone, not even paying attention.
Right.
It's like, what am I even watching? Why did I come to watch this show at 7 o'clock?
For me,
from now on,
yeah.
7:30 is the start.
The only time I ever watch the kickoff is if I show up early somewhere and I have nothing else to do, so I'll just put it on in the background.
So Charlie is with Neville at this time. And Neville's sick of hearing about Jack Gallagher, says that TJ Perkins poses a bigger threat on 205 Live on Tuesday night. Gallagher walks in. Neville will not allow him to quote Shakespeare and calls Gallagher a boy and is out of his depth and not at Neville's level. And Gallagher calls him a bloody pillock. And that was that. They've got a match Tuesday night with Neville and Perkins. And, of course, if you missed last week, Gallagher is the title challenger at Fastlane. Not much focused on this particular feud on Monday, nor did it really need to be.
I mean, it's just kind of getting started. They do have,
2 more shows.
2 more shows, I guess, but I
really 4 when you consider 205 Live as their own show.
Right. I feel like, they've got a decent grasp on Gallagher, but maybe they're going too hard on the comedy stuff, going too hard on trying to making him a one-dimensional gentleman. In the same way, they're kind of going too hard on making Neville a one-dimensional guy who talks like a king.
Gentleman.
And that's maybe part of the problem with all the cruiserweights is that they're oversimplifying them to an extent.
There were highlights all night long of different moments of Jericho and Owens building up to the Festival of Friendship. So those were airing throughout. Noam Dar was in the ring with Alicia Fox, taking on Jack Gallagher. Dar was in control at the start. Gallagher threw him with a leg scissors, landed a pair of drop kicks, and then the headbutt to the chest, and finished the match with the running drop kick, and won the match in 3:13. There were a lot of quick matches in this first hour. They were keeping them very short, which I don't know if that was just by design, maybe. They
had some long segments coming up.
They did, and I think maybe the idea of not putting on 2-segment matches in the first hour, maybe that was a theory they were testing out.
Perhaps. I also feel like with the cruiserweights especially, it's very noticeable how little time they get in comparison to the matches on 205 Live,
Oh, yeah,
obviously.
that's every week.
But even the style that they work seems far more limited when they're on Raw, working a 3-minute match. But I would say, like, in a case like this, it's these cruiserweight matches are always kind of a little slower than, what you would get typically in a 205 Live match, and they're far less flashy.
Neville just walked out at the end and held the title up. Samoa Joe and Triple H arrived in a limo, and then they showed an Emmalina graphic, and it said premiering next. And we come back from break, and she actually came out. She walked onto the stage and says, "You have waited for 17 weeks, and here I am. And now you'll see the makeover from Emmalina to Emma as she walks to the back." That was it.
I have no idea what this is. I'm sure nobody has any idea what this is.
She's gone for another 17 weeks.
So we'll get promos premiering from her to her doing the arm thing. Is that it?
Oh,
I don't know.
I was longing to see her come back from the backstage in fighter gear as MMA. That gimmick that we heard on Sunday blew away whatever idea they have for Emmalina or Emma. Stupid return.
We'll see.
Stupid gimmick.
I mean,
it's the dumbest storyline this year.
It's one of those things that
It's just a gag. And
I
that's
don't.
it.
Yeah, I don't know if they know what's planned in the end for this. But I mean, the gag is I think we all knew that she wasn't actually going to debut and wrestle. You know, it's the Eva Marie gimmick where we're
The
gonna
Eva Marie gimmick. This is comparing this to Eva Marie.
Yeah.
It's discrediting the Eva Marie thing because that got over pretty well. This is just
You're
lazy, and I don't have any faith they even know where this is going. I think this is just a joke that one or two people find funny and no one else does. Yours truly, included.
Whatever it is, I feel like it'll be something that's uncharted territory for professional wrestling.
Like what?
I mean, like debuting somebody only to have them go back away. You know, like it's mid-card comedy, but you can't deny that it doesn't have people talking about it. You know, people like.
But it's usually ending with, "This is so stupid."
Yeah, I know, and they love to do that shit often. I mean, like I walked in today to the office, and there was a crowd of 4 people at like 8 o'clock, crowded around the TV watching this thing in heavy anticipation.
Well, I'm sure they left satisfied with what.
No, they left very unsatisfied. But I mean, I don't know. It's better than a nothing debut, I guess.
So we go back to Charlie, and her guest at this time is Bayley, who is nervous for the match tonight, but it's a good nervous, she says. She said she's in the same position Lita was in when she beat Stephanie McMahon in the main event of Raw, and she's going to hit the jackpot here in Las Vegas. Jericho and Owens are in the back talking about their festival of friendship tonight when Triple H shows up, and he wants to speak to Kevin Owens alone. And they go to speak privately, and we come back where a camera is in front of them as they are talking with no sound.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
they weren't mic'd.
No. So we had no idea what they were saying. It was just an awkward silence as we just had room tone without them talking.
You're supposed. Well, I mean, you're led to believe that Triple H is telling Kevin Owens to do something, and Kevin Owens had a look of concern throughout all this.
Yes. Then we go to the real main event. Braun Strowman and Mark Henry. A match that someone thought of. Yep. This started off with a collar and elbow tie-up as they then got into striking one another. The referee tries to get in between them, and Strowman nails him with a sucker punch and clotheslines him. Then Braun applied this rear chin lock, strikes him down on the chest. Then he goes for it again, and Henry blocks and fights back. He splashes him in the corner and goes for a scoop slam, but Strowman lands on top of him. Strowman, and the only impressive thing I found in this match, hit a drop kick, and then he body slammed Mark Henry and pinned him in 4 minutes and 51 seconds.
Yeah. It was shit. This was a shitty match. I much prefer the exhibitions like the 4-on-1 handicap match to things like this, where, I mean, I feel like there's little point at this point in having Braun Strowman go, I mean, even like 70-30 with a guy like Mark Henry in a really slow, shitty match, unless you were to just simply have Braun do something very physically impressive, which he managed to do with the finish here, but definitely didn't need to go as long as this did.
This was an awful match. I saw the best thing last week. I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Alberta or British Columbia. I can't remember. But one of the job guys last week, they did a profile on him, and it was like, wrestler reaches dream and makes it to Raw. And it was a big profile on him.
Yeah.
And it just felt like almost like an onion piece. It's like, here was this guy who was just one of 4 guys that got murdered by Braun in seconds, but it was great. Good for him. He was on Raw.
Probably the only time the guy will ever
Hey,
be
it was
on.
great. I loved that segment last week. I thought it was great.
I mean, look at James Ellsworth.
Oh, look at him.
He got a job out of that.
Yeah,
didn't
good
he?
for him. Roman comes out after the match, and he gets knocked off the apron by Braun. Braun yells, "Come get me," as Reigns catches him and snaps his neck on the top and hits a Superman punch in the ring. Hits a second one as Braun goes down to a knee and then goes for the spear, but Braun catches him and hits a power slam as Strowman roars and leaves Reigns laying.
Yeah.
So this was fine.
Yeah, it's a match.
It is
I
a
mean,
match.
it's a match not for you and I, okay, but it's a match for Vince McMahon. I'm sure
How long will
he's
this
very
match
happy with
go?
this.
Are they going to go 12 minutes with these two?
No. I'm gonna hope for under 10.
If you figure that title match is going to be under 5 minutes,
Yep.
You don't have Seth on this card.
You're gonna have
You're going to
Rollins.
have your undercard do some serious
You
time.
have Rollins and Zayn. I don't know how long they'll. I mean, that's
Joe and Zayn.
Sorry, Joe and Zayn.
Yeah,
But
that'll be-
But that should be a squash too, for Joe's sake.
I
You know what
don't
I
think
mean?
it can be, given
Yeah.
the limitations of your
So-
roster at this point.
Right.
So they may have a long time on that. I was thinking about this over the weekend. You know they're going to do a Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura rematch. Why should that not be on this Fastlane card?
Because it's NXT.
So
They wouldn't be over. You don't want to waste Nakamura's debut or Rude's debut on the main roster. I mean, it'd be like having Charlotte come up to face Natalya for no reason, like she did before she made her actual debut.
I feel you could hype it up. It could be something really big.
Then you should actually help with their actual debut. We'll take away from their real debut if you're not going to keep the guys on the roster.
Well, Rude, that's not so much. I don't think that's really in the plans.
Neither should it be for Nakamura.
Well, then
if
it
you're
could be
gonna do
something from NXT maybe. Maybe you don't want to do it with
that.
Nakamura.
An exhibition match.
Yeah, do a title match, something of importance.
Why not just have another tag team match or some cruiserweights in a battle royal? You have so many people on the roster already.
On Raw?
Yeah.
I don't think you do. Really? Like that
you have
you're
plenty of
interested in
guys.
seeing?
How many people are you interested in seeing that aren't Nakamura or Rude from NXT?
I think that, I'm just looking at this from the fact that, listen, you're shorthanded for this pay-per-view. And,
Yeah, they'll have a bunch of filler, I feel.
well, that's just it.
Yeah, maybe.
Filler.
Filler, yeah.
All right. Bryce Harper was shown in the crowd, and then Sheamus and Cesaro are backstage with Bayley and getting her ready for her match. Enzo and Cass walk in. Cass says he always has his partner's back, unlike Cesaro and Sheamus. They argued. And then Michael Cole is backstage for a sit-down interview with Samoa Joe, which I'm sure they pre-taped earlier in the day, but they took the effort to explain Michael Cole leaving the broadcast booth to go do this live backstage. So credit to them for acknowledging this, as opposed to, I guess they could have just said it earlier in the day. We spoke to Joe. But anyway, Cole is there sitting down and says that Joe used dishonorable tactics. And Joe says he came to hurt people. He only cares what Triple H thinks, and he's accomplishing a greater vision. And Cole then says that some would believe Joe is here because Hunter is scared of Seth Rollins, and that they, in fact, were scared of hiring him. And he mocks Rollins, saying, redesign, rebuild, reclaim, re-injured, and says that Rollins is going to miss another WrestleMania, while Cole says Rollins believes he'll be back in time. He beat Reigns in his debut match and says in 2 weeks he beat the man and he beat the guy. And says he's here to change everything. He's not a flash in the pan. He's not like Sami Zayn, who's just happy to be on the show. And then Cole mentions other people that have been aligned with Hunter in the past, like Shawn Michaels, Batista, Randy Orton, and Seth Rollins, who all of those relationships have gone sour. And Joe says that all of them needed to be propped up. Joe doesn't, and says that Hunter can rely on him, and he gets up and walks off. I thought very good promo from Joe, or interview.
Yeah. This is not. I wouldn't classify this as a promo, and it's important to set those distinctions because, like they've done with Talking Smack, like they've done with the Brock Lesnar build. They've made a lot more use of these interview segments where guys aren't required to just look in front of a camera and speak to the mic. And with Samoa Joe, I thought it was extremely effective here. Joe, he's great. He's a great promo now too, but I think he's much more effective in a setting like this where he's not required to scream. I feel like these segments are now even more important because crowds can often hijack a segment when they're just, like it's Charlotte, in front of the crowd.
Well, this was lengthy, too. This was like 5 minutes of between these two that, to do this promo solo in the ring to get all these points across, you run that risk. And these sit-down interviews are usually pretty well done with Cole.
I think they're fantastic. And Joe was able to convey a lot of his personality here. He sounded great. His acting was pretty good. And, I thought it was really good development for Joe. And they set up the Zayn thing very subtly.
Yeah, just that one line. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Sami Zayn, who was out next to take on Rusev. And Byron Saxton compared Sami Zayn to Anderson Silva when Anderson stated that fighting is in my heart after his loss/win over Derek Brunson on Saturday at UFC 208.
Win/loss,
Yeah,
I would say.
that's what I said. Yes.
Yeah.
So great comparison. When I see Sami Zayn, I always think of the Spider.
Yeah, sure. They're probably the same weight.
Yeah, probably.
Similar body type.
Yeah, very. Zayn hit a drop kick and sent Rusev to the floor, and the Topicon Hero was hit. Rusev then comes back into the ring, nails Zayn with a kick to the floor. They go to a break. Rusev hit a fall-away slam, and in doing so, his face mask fell away, and he had to readjust and put it back on. Zayn then sent Rusev off the top and then got hit with a head kick. There's a splash in the corner by Rusev, and he misses Zayn in the corner, flies to the floor. Rusev pulls Zayn to the floor and clotheslines him, returns Zayn to the ring, and as Rusev re-enters, he gets struck with a haluva kick, and Zayn pins Rusev. And Charlie is on the ramp and interviews Zayn. Zayn says he had a lot of momentum going into last week, and losing to Chris Jericho sucked. But tonight was a step in the right direction. It's about coming back after a big loss. And he takes issue with Joe's comment and says, yeah, you aren't Sami Zayn, and says he doesn't clean up other people's messes or take shortcuts, and he's not a sellout. And then Joe's music starts playing, and Zayn is staring at the entrance, and Joe comes out from the side of the entrance from the broadcast area, attacks Zayn, hits him with punches, throws him into the video wall, and then applies the coquina clutch. And right as Zayn's about to go out, Zayn yells, "Night, night."
Joe yells that.
Joe yells this.
He also says, when you say my name, you put respect on it.
Wow, I missed that.
Yeah. Channeling his inner Birdman. I feel like in 2 short segments, they managed to build a very compelling match for Fastlane. And with Rollins out, I think Zayn, it's actually a benefit, to both men. Because the problem with the previous match was that you either had somebody lose, and Joe's not somebody who can afford a loss. Sami Zayn obviously is somebody who could afford many losses.
Many losses.
So, this match will probably see Samoa Joe completely dominate Sami Zayn, but hopefully it'll be a fun match, especially for the hardcores who I think could really be into this one. However, they could go long, but I wonder if they should because, Samoa Joe for a debut pay-per-view match should really be totally dominant in this, shouldn't he?
Yeah, but I feel they're going to be in the position that if you're keeping that main event short, this has to go long. I think this is going to be your 20-minute match or so on the pay-per-view.
It's also really unfortunate watching this, seeing Rusev basically be the odd man out. He kind of had some momentum coming off of the handsome Rusev stuff with Lana. Even the face mask thing really could have turned into something, but it's just been completely ignored.
What happened to Jinder?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good question.
We had the Teddy Long Hall of Fame announcement, and man, this featured just a bunch of shots of forgotten characters like Palmer Cannon in this.
Who?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah.
There was a big focus on his dancing. Saw Josh Matthews in this.
Yeah.
And we even got the line of, "Homie, don't play that," just for Dan Lavransky. I guarantee you that was the highlight of this whole show. "Homie, don't play that."
Was there Rodney Mack in this?
I'm sure Rodney Mack was in this video.
This was mainly footage from his run as the SmackDown GM.
Yeah. There was a bit of
little
WCW stuff with
A little
Doom.
bit, yeah.
Doom should be the 2 to induct him. That would be great. But I feel
who do you think it would be?
I feel it's going to be someone like Vicky or
Yeah.
John Laurinaitis or something. I don't know. I don't know who it'll be.
Was the plan when he entered the WWE, like in the 90s, was the plan for him to be on air, or was the plan just for him to be a ref?
He was just a ref. It's funny because he went through essentially the same cycle he did when he entered, and he was in Jim Crockett Promotions as a referee, and then slowly came up and then became the manager and managed Doom and managed a whole bunch of different guys. And then in 98, he came to the WWF, and again, he started as a referee, and he was a referee for years before they finally moved him over to become a manager and managed all these different people, and then had the SmackDown GM spot. And between I mean, he was the GM on SmackDown. He was the GM on ECW. Then he was back to SmackDown. He had like 9 years in that role, which, I mean, that's a position that they run through people in a short amount of time. And Teddy Long was like a staple there for a long, long time. Pardon the obvious pun. But yeah, I don't know. And this was also not one of the names that was rumored for the Hall of Fame. So I wonder if they're changing up any of the inductees this year.
Who are the other rumored names?
Names out there were
DDP,
Christian, Regal, The Natural Disasters. I think Rick Rude was in there.
Sure, that'd be too many at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. So then we had Akira Tozawa against Arya Daivari. And Aries and Brian Kendrick are on commentary. Kendrick stating that Tozawa reminds him of himself because back in 2003, he was the indie darling in the WWE.
He claimed to be the first indie darling to be signed by the WWE and that he paved the way for guys like Daniel, Bryan, and Aries, and I guess CM Punk.
Yeah, he stated that if he failed, then that door would have been shut for all future guys, which is kind of weird because he quit the WWE his first go around and then came back. And I'm sorry, but I don't know if he would have been labeled a WWE success during any of those runs. They traded chops. Tozawa hit a senton, and Daivari comes back, gets on top with strikes. Kendrick said that Tozawa oozes heart, which is something I'd be concerned about. Tozawa hit a Hurricane Rana and a flying forearm that sent Daivari off the apron, hit a suicide dive, comes back into the ring with a spin kick to the body, duck under, and then the snap bridging German for the win in 3 minutes and 12 seconds, as Aries was most concerned about his grunts.
Yes. So, I mean, with the cruiserweights, I guess you can kind of define each guy in one sentence. Gallagher is the gentleman. I guess Noam Dar is the lover. And Perkins is the guy who played video games. Akira Tozawa is the guy who screams. And it was very...
Aries, banana.
Banana?
Journalist.
Journalist? Okay. But it's very...
It's like charades with these guys.
It's very apparent that they told Akira Tozawa, hey, the screaming thing is getting over. Do it every instance you can. And he tried to. And it is getting over. But beyond that, I thought it was another good match for him. Like, in several short minutes, I feel like an Akira Tozawa match... He's able to accomplish a lot more than, say, your typical cruiserweight match on Raw. So I think he's doing really well. No mention of the Tajiri attack on Brian Kendrick.
Yeah, nothing.
From 205 Live. So wonder what's happening with that.
What a hook for Tuesday night. Okay, and then we go into the Festival of Friendship. Chris Jericho appears on the screen to announce the commencement of the festival. And then all of this pyro goes off.
A lot of
There was
pyro.
probably at least a few developmental cuts to pay for this.
Yeah.
And out come these Las Vegas showgirls, followed by Chris Jericho, who was like dressed up for New Year's Eve and set to host a game show. And he looked so happy. Like he was so into this. And Kevin Owens trails out behind him, not looking happy, has this somber look on his face, like he does not want to be here. Jericho is coming down arm in arm with the women, just having the time of his life. And they walk by this sign that reads, Festival of D-Bags. Wonderful Las Vegas crowd here. And they get into the ring, and there's this whole custom set design for this segment. And first, Jericho reveals a piece of art that he had commissioned by Ralph Guggenheim. It is Ralph Guggenheim, a minimalist, maximalist specialist in art. And he reveals it, and it is two figures intertwined to emphasize the friendship of Jericho and Owens that Jericho says cost him $7,000. And
yeah, I wonder what pawn shop they found this in.
I don't know where they got this. Owens sarcastically says, what a steal to get this piece. And then Jericho walks over to a piece of art that is underneath, and he reveals it. I have not laughed out loud too many times watching wrestling solo, but this was a play off of The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. and it's got Jericho and Owens' faces on top of each other. And this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And Owens is explaining that he can't hang this in his home. He has 2 kids. Jericho doesn't even have pants on. And Jericho utters the line, "It's art. You don't need pants," which will be the line that will probably be most remembered from this segment.
Yeah, this poster.
I can't even do this justice.
Dude, this poster got so over upon
This crowd went
Bayley.
nuts.
Oh,
They
man.
loved this. Like, they must have just
Dude.
put it on the Titantron for everyone to see.
Paper was the MVP of this show. Between the ice cream blueprints and this painting, man, Paper was really over on this. I guarantee you, if they sold this on Shop Zone, it would sell a lot. So I'm sure people are trying to look this thing up for their desktop wallpaper, and I'm sure they would make a lot of money if they sold this thing. This was like the Kramer, but with the WWE. They loved it.
Oh. Then we had Friendship the Magician in the ring, who was booed, and he did these stupid tricks. He lit this paper on fire and turned it into a tulip, and Owen says his 9-year-old can do the exact same trick, and Jericho ends up putting Friendship the Magician on the list for doing a weak trick and tells him to do another trick and disappear. And then Owens asks him, "Where did you find that guy?" And Jericho says, "On Craigslist." And I thought, what a natural joke to mock Craig for his inferior list. But that one was not used. They should have really ran this by me. Jericho then calls out Goldberg, and he says when he comes down here, he will get, and he points his finger as they cut to break. And I had to rewind this because it was such an awkward break. And we go through the 3-minute break and come back to Jericho's finger in the air, and he returns saying, "It." There was so much in this segment that might be forgotten.
No, I thought that was a great callback to his Man of the Thousand Holds.
I so want to hear what happened during this break. If they just stood there for 3 minutes.
I would assume nothing, but I mean, I'm sure we'll hear a crowd report. Yeah.
Please let us know if you were in Las Vegas.
Yes, this is the most important item we need to know.
So Goldberg's music plays, and out comes Dwayne Gillberg. And Owens just runs down and murders Gillberg, who I feel has to end up as James Ellsworth's mentor.
Gillberg.
Yeah.
Maybe. I would like to see him stick around for at least another
He's got to
thing.
get killed by Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. Like he did last time.
Yeah.
With The Rock. Was that the feud?
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But, man, Gillberg looks exactly the same, if not better.
Dude, this guy looked in, I don't want to say tremendous shape because it's doing an injustice to people in tremendous shape. Perfectly healthy individual. Like, looked...
For the gimmick?
Think of the fact that he showed up in the WWF in 98, dude. 19 years ago.
Yeah.
He has not aged 19 years.
Thing is, I was being kind of sarcastic because, like, for the gimmick, the older you look, the better the gimmick is, right? So this guy could appear 20 years later, crippled, and I'm sure he'd be perfect for this role.
How old would you guess this guy is?
I'm guessing 50?
57.
Wow.
Like, dude, he looked like a...
He looks 57.
Like, he didn't look awful.
He looks totally 57.
No,
which is great. But he's always looked 57. That's the gimmick.
He has.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's not, like, overweight. He's not...
Some people don't get overweight when they get old. They
Well,
get just skinny and, like, frail and really
I feel
terrible
you were
looking.
being sarcastic here. I thought you looked like...
I was being sarcastic, but I was also making a point that the worse he looks, the better the gimmick is.
So this generated a Gillberg chant as Owens just kills him. And Owens says, "I thought the whole point of this thing was to lure out Goldberg and beat him up. And instead it was Gillberg who shows up." And then Jericho gets heartfelt and talks about working with Kevin Owens, says, "This has been one of my favorite years ever in the industry. I've never had chemistry with someone like you. You make this job for me better here. And I just want to thank you.
Yeah.
And I am going to guarantee that you beat Bill Goldberg at Fastlane because I have your back. Just like all those other times in the past, you will beat Goldberg, and you're more than my friend. You're my brother, and I love you." And Owens then realizes how much this means to Jericho, and he says, "Yeah, I love you too." And he hugs him with less emotion than Jericho. Dude, this is seriously one of Chris Jericho's finest performances.
Yeah.
From the range of the way he played this character over the course of these 15 minutes. This was an unbelievable segment, and we're not even at the climax.
Like, he's done some great stuff. This might be his best. You know,
he was so entertaining as the over-the-top, like, game show host for the first half of this. Then he got so serious and, like, heartwarming in his love of Kevin Owens, and then playing the end of this.
He's at the stage of his career where he's just so smart and knows exactly how to kind of maneuver a segment to get the audience to feel a certain way, that I think he's really become a master at it. And this was him displaying that skill and really setting up his babyface turn.
Owens says, "Well, I didn't know you were going to do all this, but I got you something too. It's not anything big, but here it is." And he hands him a box. And Jericho opens it up and he says, "It's a new list." And I'm thinking, because they've started marketing these now on WWE Shop. I was like, oh,
dude, like, way too late to do it, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, are they going to just flip it and now it's the official WWE version that they're selling or something? But no, Jericho looks down and you can't see the list yet. And he says, as he pulls it up, "Why's my name on the list?" And the crowd takes about 2 seconds. And that, to me, was the best part here. It was not just the crazy out of left field. It was giving you the moment to let it sink in. And he pulled up the list, and the back read, "The list of KO." And you knew what was next, and you just had those couple of seconds to digest it. And Jericho asks why his name is on it, and Owens kills him. This had the drama of like a Murder on Sons of Anarchy way.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Wow, this was...
it was really great.
This was Jericho losing his patch. Owens attacks him, throws him into the barricade, power bombs him on the edge of the apron, and then lifts him up in the ring, says, "I hate you," and throws him into the screen. And if there's one thing, I mean, certainly this played off the barbershop, the famous barbershop segment. The other part of that segment was Shawn ripping up the WWF program and throwing Marty's. It was like the two photos on opposite pages and throwing Marty's down. Had he taken that picture, the creation of Kevin, and just tore it in half and throwing Jericho's down on top of him. But that would have almost been too much comedy if you saw that visual again.
I also wonder if it was actual canvas. Probably not, but it would have been a little tougher to rip. However, he did throw Jericho into the painting, which got a huge reaction from this crowd.
Throw him into
This
it.
crowd hated the painting getting destroyed.
And then he holds up the title. And listen, I thought this segment was phenomenal.
Home run.
Do you feel that this was a reaction to Seth being out and having to rejig things? Because it did feel they were going Jericho Zayn at Fastlane and doing the turn. It would have seemed likely that you would have saved this for after the Goldberg loss.
True.
And how you now do is Jericho should be off TV, in my opinion, either until Fastlane or the night after.
Right. I can't tell you what the original plan was, but I'll say I think this plays perfectly leading into Fastlane with Jericho. I agree with you. Probably shouldn't be making an appearance until the pay-per-view where he can cost Owens the match leading into their program.
You also need to have you have to have a good promo from Owens to explain why he would do this before Fastlane.
Right.
You've eliminated your insurance policy, who has always come through.
Right.
When you were frightened to be facing this man and begging for Chris to have your back.
Well, the interesting part is the involvement of Triple H in the feud.
Yeah, that's the key.
Because
that Triple H has offered him a better insurance policy, but you've got to kill off this guy.
We're led to believe that Triple H is the instigator behind this breakup, and so coming out of the Jericho Owens program, you can break either guy off into a feud with Triple H. So it's really interesting. I don't know what exactly they have planned. I mean, Triple H kind of has a number of, he's still waiting for Rollins. That could be a backup for in case Rollins doesn't make it for Triple H, but we'll see what happens. But this breakup has been a long time coming, and by the time they actually did it here, it was completely satisfying. I thought one of Jericho's best performances in professional wrestling, and Kevin Owens was great. I love the callback to the barbershop window smash, also the Shawn Michaels,
Yeah, it was Jericho and Shawn too.
Everything about this, Gillberg coming out, the creation painting, everything about this was really great.
This segment and Suzuki Gun's return at New Year's Dash. Those are the two best angles this year, and this may have topped the Suzuki Gun return for me. I thought this was awesome. I love this segment, and I thought the same thing. Like, this is one of the best Jericho performances because you saw such a wide range of the roles this guy can play, and it was all in one segment. It was like this turn was... They had put a lot of pressure because it's been teased for so long that you better have something great. And I just really liked the pause of waiting when you suddenly realized, oh, man, this is it. Yeah. And he attacked him. So, yeah, I thought overall this was really good. And having the Hunter subplot to it as well gives you kind of that reasoning. After the break, Jericho's just showing being taken into an ambulance. I was just praying, please don't do a follow-up attack.
Yeah, it would have been too much.
Like, sometimes they would do that, and it was...
And they'd crash a semi-truck into the ambulance or something.
They're very bad with ambulances, but they just took him off, wheeled him off. This was perfect. And even Corey Graves, he was disgusted by this. As they went back, and they had to make the awkward transition back to the show. Yeah. Like... We'll get into the main event. This should have ended the show, probably.
Well, I mean, I can see why.
If you weren't doing the finish, I'm arguing against what they did in the main event.
Really? Okay.
I'll say.
All right.
So afterwards, Enzo and Cass come out. Enzo runs out, and his mic falls out onto the stage, and he's got to grab it before it falls off. Enzo goes through all of Cesaro's transformations, from Swiss Superman to James Bond to Baywatch lifeguard. He says... I'm going to save you the hassle, Hoff. You can let your bay watch. You can take your best shot, but you will Swiss miss because you choke a lot.
Yeah. I was wondering if you'd enjoy this one. Because I didn't think it was one of Enzo's best by a long shot, yeah.
I feel this guy, he's gone from having to do like one big promo a month to he's got to do these every single week now.
You mean like when he was on NXT?
NXT, it's like he wasn't on television every week or when there was like a takeover. I mean, that was quarterly. And now it's like this guy has to go out there and do like a new thing. Like even the Road Dogg, he came out, he had his spiel down. I mean, it was just the crowd sang along. It wasn't new material every week. This guy's got to come out and like drop a new track every week.
Even a comedian, does the same set probably, like for a whole year. But this guy, it's not easy.
So then there were some marshmallows, which led to our soft reciting.
Right, yes.
Enzo and Cesaro, all I wrote down here. Cesaro pressed him in the air and hit an uppercut for the win in 241.
Yeah, it was a real nothing match, but I think the point was to establish the feud between the two teams, which is not very hot off the bat. So. Yeah,
Cesaro holds back Sheamus from Cass after, so it does feel like a tag direction, if not multiple-person team match for Fastlane with
tag team turmoil.
Our star tag team champions who got disqualified. There was a feature on Rosa Parks, and then Charlotte was in the back and ran into Sasha Banks and says that she would have Sasha banned from events to help morale backstage. And Sasha says that they each got the other numerous times in matches. And Charlotte points to her taped knee, stating that Sasha can't walk the walk, and she leaves. Next week, we're going to get Braun Strowman against the Big Show in L.A.
Okay. I mean, I get it. It's to showcase Braun doing some impressive physical feat to these big guys. I hope they keep the match short. That's it.
Charlotte and Bayley was the main event for the Raw Women's title, and Corey says Bayley could turn out to be like Tim Tebow. Awesome in college, but couldn't hang in the NFL. Charlotte tried to roll out of an arm lock early, and Bayley rolled with her to keep it applied. Bayley then slapped her, and Charlotte had to regroup on the floor. They went through a break. Bayley's repeatedly sending Charlotte into the turnbuckle head first as the crowd is cheering along. And Charlotte then goes behind and throws Bayley down, and the back of her head nails the bottom turnbuckle.
It was a schoolboy. And I thought it was a really cool, effective way to use the schoolboy as an offensive maneuver.
Yeah, and man, they did all of this stuff on Bayley's neck that just looked troublesome at times, this spot included. Charlotte's in control. She puts pressure on the neck and then drops Bayley off the apron with a running boot, climbs onto the barricade, and she hits this moonsault where her knee comes like crashing down on like the neck and shoulder of Bayley. Right, and they showed this in slow motion, and this just looked... This looked like, my God, how she didn't separate her shoulder was amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure... I'm sure a lot of things actually hurt, probably, in this match.
That seemed to be just really hurt my neck and shoulder, and then I won't have to worry about selling because I will be.
She's getting the title.
Yeah, so Bayley's kicking out repeatedly as Charlotte sends her back into the ring. Bayley responds with forearms. They collide with cross bodies in the middle of the ring. Then Bayley hit a reverse elbow off the turnbuckle, side suplex, and then goes to the top and hits, as Michael Cole calls it, the Macho Man elbow.
She almost tripped.
She almost lost her balance. Yeah. Bayley then hit a top rope Hurricane Rana for a near fall, and they cut to this kid who was just going crazy here, thinking it was over. Then Dana Brooke runs down. She gets knocked off the apron, and then Bayley rolls through on a roll-up attempt and then applies a figure four. Dana then comes back, rakes the eyes of Bayley to break the submission, and Charlotte applies the figure eight when Sasha runs down, attacks Dana with her crutch, and then nails Charlotte, which the referee does not see, and Bayley hits the Bayley to belly and pins Charlotte, and Bayley wins the title. As Sasha embraces and hugs Bayley, it was a great scene to go off the air. Everyone was cheering for Bayley, and they did the post-match celebration. I thought this was great. I just don't know if this was the best time to do it.
And what do you mean?
I feel this could have been WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What do you want to see after this to follow this up? It's Bayley defending the title against Charlotte, probably at Fastlane. Very well could do the title switch back again, which is just like we've been through this. The title change on TV. Now, my one argument against myself here is if you are committed to this streak with Charlotte on pay-per-view, you have New Orleans booked next year. And that is a story in and of itself. Charlotte defending her streak in the same venue where the most famous streak ended with The Undertaker.
Right.
That is the only reason to keep this streak going to me. Because if not, Bayley should have won this at WrestleMania. That's how big this, to me, Bayley's first title win could have been. She ends the streak.
Yeah, I don't dispute that. Part of me feels like they want to keep that going for a long time, that Charlotte pay-per-view streak. I also wonder if the plan is to have a multi-woman match at the pay-per-view. I don't necessarily think Bayley will be the hottest babyface in the match. You know, the crowd could want Sasha to win, and you run the risk of Bayley not being as hot in a match like that. But I feel like this was a great match. It was a great moment. I thought, man, this was like the perfect crowd to do this win for Bayley. She came across like she was really made from a match like this. My concern, as it's always been for a character like Bayley's, is where do you go from here?
I think she loses it at Fastlane.
I mean, that's unfortunate.
That's the only match to do for the women.
For me, a character like Bayley, all the money is really in her first title win.
Exactly.
After the fact, you really have to try hard to come up with bigger motivation for an underdog character like hers. So, I mean, after this, I'm curious to know what they have planned for the character. Because right now, I mean, it feels like, with the girls especially, the bar to win a title is not very high. That's what it's making it seem, with all these girls getting titles so quickly on Raw and on SmackDown.
Could you guess how many times Sasha's won the title?
3?
I can't. I don't know.
Is it 3 times? I don't know. But it's a lot, and it's too much, unfortunately. This was a great moment. I hope they have good follow-up plan for all these girls.
So that was Raw. I thought it was a really good show tonight. A great show, I will say. I thought, hey, for all I'm saying about it, it was a really good match with Charlotte and Bayley. The Jericho Owens segment was maybe the best segment this year so far. And I thought the Joe interview was really good as well. Those are my highlights for the show.
How do you think the ratings will be without without Brock, without Goldberg on this show, but some great segments.
And the last time they really built up to a big women's title match, they did a very good rating back in, I believe it was October. So I'm curious to see how it holds up, given that there is no Goldberg on this show, but it was all built around the women. And I think also the Jericho stuff, they built a lot to the third hour, which is typically where you have the big drop. So I feel they'll at least mitigate the big drop like you saw last week from hour 2 to 3. So yeah, it's a curious number to see, but it was a really good episode.
I agree.
That's going to wrap it up, but we will be back on Wednesday to chat about SmackDown going down this week, coming out of the Elimination Chamber show, and what is next for SmackDown coming out of that show. We'll also chat about 205 Live and Talking Smack, and then later this week we've got What's Next, the MMA Report, and Friday is the return of Keep It 2000 as they will be reviewing the January 31st, 2000 episode of Monday Nitro, which you can go and watch on the network in time for Friday with Brian Mann and Nate Milton. So that's going to do it for us. You can go to liveaudiowrestling.com, youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling, and
Pro Wrestling Tees contest. You would have seen a question appear right up here, so just enter that and you could win a free t-shirt.
follow us, Outlaw Radio, for your chance to win, and we'll speak with you next week. Each week, you have a chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees during Review-A-Raw. All you have to do is pay attention for the secret question and then submit your answer Outlaw Radio on Twitter, and you'll be entered into a draw to win your t-shirt, including our own brand of shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/law.